Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cat's Track. Today, I am most honored to introduce you to my dear friend, Ken Wilson. Ken was born in Calgary in 1946 at the Holy Cross Hospital. He spent 35 years in business in Toronto and the rest of his time in Calgary. Thank goodness. He's been married to his beautiful and amazing bride, Stephanie, for 50 years, and they have two children that they're most proud of. Jessica, who is 45, living in Calgary, and Jordan, 40 years old, living in Montreal. Besides Ken's family, he is laser focused with 6 personal passions, each a specific tactic for proactive engagement. Reading for pleasure. Here we go. Be more fit, more flexible, and healthier 10 years from now than he is today. This requires a daily focus on fitness, yoga, and a healthy lifestyle. He loves volunteering in the community through not-for-profit, for-profit, and not-for-profit organizations and boards. In fact, I've seen him everywhere. He's so passionate about serving and supporting our community. Just a wonderful soul. He loves celebrating the outdoors, continue a near 70-year pursuit of yearly outdoor activities all over the world, including cycling, hiking, fishing, golfing, canoeing, hunting with his close friends and family. He loves consulting, and it's usually sweat-based equity and some fees too, but I've seen him roll up his sleeves and do some amazing work for many. He loves exploring his creative side, sketching, singing, and performing. In fact, if you've not heard Rev 52 yet, you should. Check it out online. They have some amazing performances, and I love following them. You will find his full bio attached. Again, thank you for joining us today. Ken, I am so glad you're here, and thank you for considering this. We're really glad to have you on today's episode.
Thanks, Catherine. Great to be here. A real pleasure. Looking forward to the chat.
Oh, thank you. Is it okay we start with the questions that I sent you this week?
You bet.
Awesome. So tell me your greatest challenge in the last 2 months.
Yeah, so it's, May the 9th today, and I think back to March the 9th. The world hadn't really changed that much yet 2 months ago. In fact, on March the 11th was the weekly Rev 52, the group that I sing with, a weekly evening rehearsal. It turned out that was our last in-person rehearsal because everything went into shutdown just shortly after March the 11th. So I think the biggest challenge was adjusting to a new lifestyle completely. Going from one that was intensely engaged in all sorts of human relationships out and about, one that was looking down the road 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 months as to where we were heading. One that had my wife pursuing her career during the day and me doing my thing, and us getting together usually every night at a restaurant to eat, to a whole new lifestyle of really the planning time frame shrunk to less than 24 hours. Like, what are we going to have for lunch tomorrow?
Yeah.
Together. Our life turned into being together 24/7. We have not been together 24/7 in our lives, day in and day out. So it changed the relationship, changed how we went through the day, and required a lot of adjustment. And frankly, it's been terrific. We've just had a great time. We've immensely enjoyed preparing meals together and just hanging out together. And then the other big thing too was realizing that with the benefit of technology, that you could actually see and speak with people. You couldn't be with them, but you could be as close as seeing and talking to them real time, just like you and I are now. And I'm sure you've experienced it. We have actually seen more of some people in the past 2 months than we have ever seen in our lives, even though we're close friends or even family. So it's just required a big adjustment, but a lot of positives have come out of it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Well, you two have always been the most amazing couple and always in love. I can't imagine. It must have felt like a honeymoon.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, not quite, but maybe a different kind of honeymoon.
A different kind of honeymoon. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what are the three things that you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, you know, the very first one, I mean, it really does involve understanding what the basics are, the basics of life. I have found over my life that when things get out of control, um, you've always got to go back to basics. And you know, it's just like for example, with golf. If you're playing golf and your game is worse than it usually is, instead of being frustrated and angry and feeling like quitting, you actually go back to the basics and you remember that the grip is important, the way you stand is important, that keeping your eye on the ball is important. And oddly enough, when you go back to the basics, you begin to improve. So, you know, one of the basics I think is taking care of yourself. You know, everybody talks about taking care of their families and their friends, and I maintain that you cannot do that unless you've taken care of yourself first. And that oft referred to analogy, when you get on an airplane, they ask you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your children. And that is to make sure that you're conscious, alert, and capable before you go to help anybody else. So this means taking care of your health. It means taking care of your wealth. And if you take care of your health and take care of your wealth, then you can help other people with their health and their wealth. So make sure you take care of yourself. And this involves, you know, living a good lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management. It involves maintaining your relationships with your family, nurturing those relationships, nurturing the relationships with your friends, and making sure that you're really doing a really good job on all of those aspects of your life. So I think that's the really the biggie, taking care of yourself first. The next sort of template that I've developed over many years is, as you're going through life and you're feeling a bit out of sorts, if you consider the potential or the roles that you actually have, you have a potential 4 roles, not in any order. You have a potential to be a partner of somebody else, typically in marriage as a spouse. You have a potential to be a parent of a child. You have a potential to have a very active social life, have lots and lots of friends. And you have the potential to have a very personally self-fulfilling life, taking care of yourself. So the 4 roles are a spousal role, a parental role, a social role, and basically a take care of yourself role, an ego satisfaction role. So if you are at any point in your life out of sorts, sit back and think about your relationship with your spouse or your partner. Think about your relationship with your children, if you're fortunate to have any. Think about your relationships with your friends, and think about yourself. How are you feeling about what you're doing? And typically you may say, gosh, you know, my marriage is great. My kids are great. I love my job, but I'm still disconnected. And what you realize is that you're not nurturing your friendships. You're not staying in touch with your close friends, your friends from junior high, your friends from university, your friends from work. And if you then turn your attention to taking care of prioritizing that one of those 4 aspects of that template, then you get your life back into some kind of balance. You know, when years ago, you know, I felt that our marriage was suffering, and I really couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I spent quite a bit of time thinking about things. It took me about 3 weeks to figure it all out. And what I realized was that my job was great. I had great friends. I felt really, really good about the relationship I had with my kids. They were very young men. But our marriage the zip had gone out of it. And the reason was we were both so busy. I was heavily involved in my career at the time, so was Stephanie. And we had a nanny to take care of the kids at home. We just weren't seeing each other. So I said to Stephanie, I said, babe, we got to go out one night during the week, and we got to go and do something on the weekend. And we really started focusing on golf on the weekends. And we would go out one night a week, just the two of us. And I mean, the whole situation improved in like 3 weeks, right? And so I've always felt strongly about, you know, taking care of yourself first. Number two, the 4 templates. And then the third thing that I've learned, and I really learned this over the last 15 years as I transitioned from, you know, full-time employment to this new life that I'm in. And, you know, it's referred to as retirement. And retirement's great. However, you still have to pursue life. And I think it's really important to understand and think about what your purpose is, what's your life purpose, and then to develop a set of strategies or tactics to fulfill that purpose. And you know, mine has been really simple. I just like to learn and have fun. That's a broad statement, but you know, when you can actually have fun while learning, and I know that I'm at my best when I'm with a whole bunch of other people. I'm not a very good sort of sole practitioner, so I really did sit down before I left full-time employment and thought about what I really wanted to do with my life. And I developed those 6 passions, as I call them. And they have become essentially my operating plan for the rest of my life. And so, you know, I can look at it any day of the week, any week of the month, any time during the year. How am I doing to evaluate myself on those 6 passions? And you know, reading for pleasure I used to read like crazy when I was younger, and the busier I got in business, my recreational reading just fell right off in favor of business reading. And I've tried to reestablish that, and it's been more difficult than I had thought. But I'm finally back into that, where I'm just reading fiction, but you just got to read it. It's an escape, right? And staying fit, staying healthy, and staying flexible, so important to, you know, living life well in your later years. And, you know, so I have good fortune to be able to work out with a trainer 3 days a week, and plus 1 day a week of yoga, just me and the yoga teacher. And the relationships I have with my trainers and my yoga teacher are part of my life. They're so great, such great people. And I have so much fun. It just keeps me well, it keeps me fit. Volunteering in the community, either in not-for-profit or for-profit, that keeps your mind sharp, but it enriches your life. The people that I have met and established new relationships with is just beyond compare. And, you know, celebrating the outdoors, I'm very fortunate to have had a father that taught me how to camp, fish, and hunt and hike. And then to have a bunch of friends of mine, 8 other guys, that 49 years ago, we started going into the bush every year for 4 or 5 days. And we've been doing it for 49 years. We've gone all over the world. We have had so much fun and celebrated so many things. And, you know, I grew up hunting and fishing, and I still do that with my brothers and my cousins and good friends. And, you know, I've come to have great respect for the outdoors, and I can tell you the outdoors has never been in better shape than it is today. Consulting is a good way for me to stay in touch again with the community and share my experience and advice. And then the last one was exploring my creative side, and that has been, of the 6 passions, has been the one that just completely exploded, totally changed my life. And you know, it turns out I'm a pretty good artist, but that's a sole pursuit if you're an artist sketching. I always wanted to explore whether or not I could sing and perform. And we're very fortunate in Calgary to have an incredible music scene, and very fortunate to have a number of excellent choral groups. One of them, Rev 52, which will be in its 70th year. It's 68 years long in Calgary. You know, it's originally, and still called the Calgary Choral Society, originally put together to perform for the Queen, which came from the 50s. But it's an audition group of about 50 men and women, about 30 women, 20 men, all volunteers. In fact, we pay an annual fee to belong to Rev 52.
Wow.
And he performed rock and pop music, and it's audition group. So I auditioned without having any prior experience at it. It was really a big hill to climb. And that was 5 years ago, and I've since become involved in the board of Rev 52 and on the marketing committee, and heavily involved in fundraising for us. And but the most important thing are the relationships that I've developed there, and learning about singing and performing. You know, if you think about singing, you don't have to buy a single thing to sing. All you do is use your voice and your ear, your breath, and your brain. That's it. And when you put 50 of us together, the sounds are unbelievable. So you mix all of those 6 passions together. You know, it's really worked. It's kept me heavily engaged, kept me healthy, happy, and well. I've challenged. I mean, I am anxious, you know, all the time. For example, today, I have to submit a video of me singing my part in our next virtual performance. We've done 2 virtual performances. The first one was released on April the 9th, and we sang Up Where We Belong, the great Joe Cocker song from Officer and Gentleman. Such, you know, Up Where We Belong, very inspirational piece of music. And then last week we released A Million Dreams from the terrific musical The Greatest Showman, about the circus business. And we've got we recorded last week, we recorded a song that'll be coming out in a few weeks. And then today we're putting another song in, Angels, done by Robbie Williams, one of the greatest songs ever out of England about 20 years ago. And so I've got to do that. So I'm keyed up because, you know, when you're singing in a choral group, you're with a whole group of people. But when you're singing virtually, I have to sing my part by myself without any accompaniment. And it's a real challenge, but we pulled it off, and we've done something, and it's been very well received. So that, you know, it kept us together as a group, kept us focused on something, gave us a performance goal to reach, and people have been enjoying it immensely. It's been in the national news. In Canada, it's been down in the US on Inside Edition. So it's amazing.
And it's spelled differently. How do you spell it?
REVV 52.
Awesome. Thank you. I love both performances. It was excellent.
Great.
And thank you all for doing all that for us. It's you're all quite an inspiration. And I loved seeing you in person, but it was very cool to see it online like that. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing if you think about it. I mean, to the casual observer, it looks like we all got together on Zoom.
Yeah.
The Zoom screen looks very similar. Zoom is unbelievable. However, it would not allow to have the sound recording quality that we actually have in those productions. So what we do, each one of the 50 of us records our parts. So the sopranos, the altos, the tenors, the baritones, and the basses all sing their individual part, because these are all special arrangements for singing in harmony. Where those are all recorded on their iPhone or the iPad or their smartphones, and both visually and orally. And then they're sent into an amazing artistic director, John Morgan.
Yeah.
John, together with a couple of other recording and video editing engineers, merges all the tracks. They bring in music from our guitar players, our drummer, and our keyboard player, who also record at home. All of these tracks are merged using technology, and then we produce the whole show as you see it, but both the sound and the video all lined up together. So it's a tremendous production, and extremely creative, and we've never done that before.
Yeah.
And you know, for a group that's been around for as long as we have, we're constantly breaking trail, trying new things out. And originally we, you know, did it to keep the group together, give us something to focus on, because we can't rehearse. We normally have a big show. Tonight would have been our closing show from our spring show at the Bella. You know, was a year ago, and we're all lamenting the fact that we're not together with our fans, we're not on stage there. However, being able to do the virtual performances keeps ourselves together, keeps us focused on singing, creating music, and then it's a great thing for our fans and for new fans to learn about us as well.
No, I love it. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry we're missing tonight as well. As you know, Mark Starrett is a big fan, and
Oh yeah.
as soon as he knew the date, we were all told to put it in our calendar. And I think that was, I don't know, December.
Yeah, another regret is that we aren't going to be able to pull a Rotary thing together, but we'll do that when the lid's off.
Yeah, I've heard that's happening still. I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Ken. And then finally, a legacy or good news story that you'd like to share before we close.
Well, I think the good news story is something that none of us foresaw before the conditions changed, and that was that we actually had the ability to perform virtually, to create music, learn it, practice it, rehearse it, perform it, and then bring it out for the enjoyment of everybody. So, it's another testament to human ingenuity and creativity, and then an ability to actually pull that off. And it's not just a good news story for me personally, for us as a group, but for everybody who enjoyed what we did there. So I really like that. I think the other, there's sort of two big things coming out of this thing. And you and I are doing it right now. And I've been involved in technology my whole life. I mean, the technology for us to see each other and speak, even though we aren't together, has been around for years, but hardly utilized compared to what's being done today. So this has opened up a whole new means of human connection, and it is unbelievable. I mean, as well as I do, that you're having Zoom cocktail sessions with friends and family, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing people together from different countries and different time zones, visually and orally. You would never have done that otherwise.
Agreed.
Business is being conducted. My exercise sessions, my 3 sessions with trainers, which I normally go to the gym with, I'm doing those on Zoom, and they're excellent. My yoga, doing that on Zoom, it's excellent. My vocal coaching with my vocal coach, I don't go to his studio anymore. I do that on Zoom. It's absolutely unbelievable how much you can do. You don't have to drive, you don't have to park, you don't have to get up and change. I mean, it's unbelievable what you can do. So that's really huge. The other one, which we won't really be able to tell much about, I think, for another year or so as we look back on this, you could use whatever set of terms you want, but this is a great reset for the human race.
Yeah.
And I think it's, there's a lot of difficult things coming out here, the sadness of the loss of life that's been encountered, the challenge of making do without income coming in, very difficult things. On the other hand, we're finding out how valuable family is. We're finding out how valuable friendships are. We're also finding out how critical it is to get a job and to hold a job. We're finding out how critical it is to manage your income so that you can accommodate unexpected events. So there's a lot of really, really good learning here that I hope will do a reset on what's important, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, your friends, period.
Yeah.
Period. But we won't really see what that really turns into for at least another year. So in the meantime, I think the world's more connected than it's ever been before. The world's more aware of each other and where we are and what's going on than we ever have been before. And, I've got a lot of faith in the human race. When you connect and communicate as much as we all have over the last 2 months, nothing but good can come from it.
I agree, Ken. You're always an inspiration to talk to, and I'm so glad you took time to be with us today.
Well, Catherine, it's been just great. I appreciate you reaching out and connecting with me and with many other very interesting people, all of whom can share their stories. And as we all know, the best learning comes from listening to the stories of other people.
I agree. Thank you again, Ken.
You bet. Thank you, Catherine.
Well, everybody, that was the next episode of Cat's Track with my amazing friend, Ken Wilson. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the sun. Thank you.